Hello, EKN Nation. Welcome back to another edition of the Industry Insider. My guest today here on the EKN Radio Network from Acceleration Kart Racing, Curtis Cooksey. And most of you who have been around the sport for a handful of years know the name Acceleration Kart Racing. Of course, probably the leading online karting store, shipping all over the country. It's Curtis and his wife, Brooke Parker. But there's a lot more to Curtis, and that's kind of the reason why I wanted to bring him on. We'll talk about Acceleration Kart Racing and what they do in Las Vegas, but we're also going to talk about a pretty cool story. Curtis, first off, thank you so much for joining me here on the EKN Radio Network.
Thanks for having me, Rob. Glad to be here.
That's awesome. All right, you know what? Look at some of the notes you sent me, and obviously I followed you quickly through your career. You and I kind of came in kind of at the same time, but you actually got started in karting when you were 18, back in 1991. So you're like 30 years in this gig.
Long time. It seems like it's all I've ever done, really.
Yeah. So tell me that. I always like to ask the origin story first. How did you get into the sport? My dad was a stock car racer, so I grew up loving racing. Finally found karting when I was in my early to mid 20s. I found karting. How did it happen for you growing up in Salt Lake City?
Well, my dad was a stock car racer too.
Nice.
When we were kids, we got into motocross, and we raced dirt bikes for years. And then, when I was about 17, I broke my femur. My brother broke both of his wrists, and the motocross thing got harder and harder to do.
the age-old story of how karting gets a lot of guys coming from motocross after they've beaten themselves up so much they want to keep racing, but they don't want to beat themselves up, right?
Exactly.
So tell me about that.
Motorsports, so we loved racing.
Okay, your family. What your dad was a stock car racer, you said?
He raced stock cars. He raced his dirt bikes. Yeah, we raced everything.
That's awesome. So, all right. So, where did you start? Where was karting in Salt Lake City back in 1991?
We raced at a little track south of Salt Lake and near a city called Provo. One day, my dad just brought a couple KT100 karts home, and we took it to the local high school parking lot, and I fell in love with it. I thought it was the best thing I'd ever done.
That's awesome. So, okay, a lot of guys have stories where they come out of motocross, or the families got them into karting. Not everybody quickly and early in their career makes the jump over into the industry. You did that very quickly. Tell me about you getting out of just not getting out of, but expanding from just being a racer to actually working in the industry to a certain extent.
Well, I loved doing it. I couldn't really afford to do it, so I went to work for the local shop, and Bruce Black owned Silver King Power Sports, and he helped me out.
That's awesome. I know that the funny thing, so when I was, or whatever years those were, like early 90s, I worked for a newspaper called Performance Racing News up in Canada. And of course, I was one of the account executives. I wrote for them, but I actually made money as a salesman selling advertising. And, I had this list of, cold calling people all over the place. And one of my accounts was actually Silver King Power Sports. And I think actually Bonner Moulton was actually my contact there. So you actually worked with Bonner as well.
I worked there way before Bonner, though.
All right, so you're the OG.
Yeah, he came in later. It was just three of us there. Bruce had come in once in a while, and then there were two girls and me.
Now, so what Silver King Power Sports was there? Did it have karting gear? Was it a safety gear company? I can't even recall what they actually sold.
It was my first introduction to like mail order stuff. He did mostly mail order with harnesses, bell helmets, a little bit of safety equipment for all the cars. He did some drag racing, but karts were the only thing we did everything. And there was a local kart racing organization, and we were the only shop in town for that.
Let's jump into you. Obviously, you started karting. When you started when you were 18? What were you racing? Were you racing a KT100? Did you jump right into shifters? What did you do?
KT100s. When my dad brought a couple of them home, we had no idea what we were doing. I don't know how many times we fried our Horseman clutches. It was a tough learning curve there at first.
So talk about jumping into shifter kart racing, because when I started Shifter Kart Illustrated in 1998, you were already there, right? Because you had podiumed at the very first Super Nationals. Talk about you getting into shifter kart racing, because that's kind of the thing that you had done for a long time there, late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah, we got into shifter carts right after. I think we did one season of KTs. It really didn't weren't crazy about the horseman clutches and stuff. Just had trouble getting them figured out. We saw a guy with a shifter cart, and we knew how to make those engines run.
That's
So
right. Yeah.
we're like, we got to do that, and we pretty much did that from right after we started.
In some of the notes you sent over to me, you talked about finishing second to Phil Giebler at an ISRA race. Not many people know about the ISRA. I think that was Wes Gibbs. I think was the guy that ran that. I remember seeing an ad for it in National Kart News. But you were racing against Giebler in your early 20s.
Yep. That was probably my first uh, decent finish at anything other than a local race. And
Okay.
yeah, Giebler was there. Elliott was there. It was a pretty decent turnout for the beginning of shifter carts.
That's pretty cool. Now, okay, so then where I really got to know you is when you were working at Motorcycle Tire Center, MTC in Las Vegas. How do you transition from being at Silver King Power Sports in Salt Lake City, and all of a sudden you end up moving to Las Vegas? You're with MTC. You kind of start a shifter cart program for you. You guys were front and center at that leading edge of the shifter cart movement in the late '90s.
Yeah, shifter carts were really popular in Vegas. They had a pretty good local following. A bunch of the motocross racers and desert racers decided to get shifter carts, and one of the guys wanted to, do a shop. He called me up. I came down, and we started doing cart stuff at MTC. It
Wow.
took right off though. We were doing races, and the guy that owned MTC was spending a ton of money.
Well, as you said, there was a lot of racing going on. A lot of the big races, shifter cart races, whatever, there was always something going on in Las Vegas, right? Whether we were at Buffalo Bills in the back parking lot there,
Yep.
or if we were out at what was it, Shifter Cart City, I think it was called first, then Las Vegas Karting Center out in Prim, right?
Cart City.
Yeah, that's right, Shifter Cart City. Spencer and Fiona Apple. I remember going to that first Super Nationals and just being blown away by it. It was awesome.
Oh yeah, and that track was one of the best in the country. I think one of the first CIK approved tracks at the time. We thought it was the best.
It's interesting, right? Don't we all kind of look back at that track? When you look back at your history, you look back at your memories of some of the places you went. It's got such a history book. There's so many stories there. Of course, the launch of the Super Nationals #1 back in '97, and then through the first 5 years, which were just heady days. Everybody was super excited to be in this outlaw shifter kart program. But that track really was really the center of a lot of excitement for karting in the late '90s.
Yeah, it was fun. And that's what brought me to Vegas is that track.
Well, so tell me about your shifter car racing when you got there. You were running Motorcycle Tire Center's karting component? Were you doing a ton of racing at that point as well?
Yeah, I mean the deal was I just wanted to race, and they had just built that track, and the owner of MTC wanted to sell shifter cart stuff. So I came down and I said, look, we can do this, but racing's top priority. And he's like, yeah, that's what I want to do too. So he would go to the races with us. Me, Art Lanier,
Yep.
and him would travel all over the West Coast racing. It was fun.
Again, like you're in your early 20s at that point, probably all fired up and ready to go and ready to go racing. Now, that was when I worked at Performance Racing News first, and then I moved in, I think it was 96 or 97. I think maybe 97. I started with National Kart News, and I actually did an article on MTC.
Yeah.
I remember, I do remember that. That was kind of cool.
Yeah, I think that's when we met.
Probably. Talk about the first Super Nationals, because obviously SCUSA was kind of getting things rolling mid '90s, more on the East Coast and the Great Lakes, with Don Janowski and Jim Murley. Obviously this big race? There was there were ISRA races, but this big race comes to Shifter Kart City with SCUSA. Can you look back and remember what you thought about that first big race?
Oh man, it was just it was so big. It was just I thought shifter carts were just going to take over the world. Yeah, I mean it was just so cool, and to have it in our backyard here, it was great.
Before we go to our first quick break, let's talk about 1998 and running in the CIK FIA Formula C World Championships at Charlotte. I posted a picture back on our social media about a month and a half or 2 months ago, whatever it was, of you running that the Burrell. The guy with you, of course, was it Art Lanier was with you? I think it was Art in the picture, right?
Art, yep.
Yeah, he was a top engine builder for the time there, Artworks Engines. What do you remember about running against all the world champions?
Oh, at the time, I just thought it was an incredible opportunity to race against the best drivers in the world at the time in shifter karts. And it was tough, though. We decided to put a brand new kart together at the track, a track we'd never been to. And I mean, it was really a struggle for us, but it was cool. It was fun.
That's awesome. All right, folks, stay with us. More to come here. I'm having a quick interview with Curtis Cooksey from Acceleration Kart Racing. We got lots to talk about because we have not yet hit the Acceleration Kart Racing chapter. We've talked about the fact that he started with Silver King Power Sports, only 19 years of age, jumping right into the industry, then got hired to come to Motorcycle Tire Center in Las Vegas to start their shifter kart program. MTC and Art Lanier and Curtis, just such a core component of the history book of that mid-90s, late 90s kind of era for shifter kart racing. When we get back after this break, though, we'll talk a little bit about Acceleration Kart Racing. Top-level production with a focus on a single form of motorsports, karting. This is MG Tires. MG Tires USA, underneath the Vantage Karting Group banner, is the official distributor of the MG Tires brand for the United States. MG Tires are the official spec tire in the United States Pro Kart Series, Route 66 Sprint Series, Sunshine State Karting Challenge, and countless clubs across the country. No matter your compound preference, MG Tires USA has you covered. The 2020 season brings a new homologation period, featuring new names for the same superior products. Whether it's the medium SH Red, the soft SM Yellow, the super soft green SS, or the intermediate white IZ, MG Tires USA has your winning set of rubber in stock. Indoor and outdoor rental facilities can now trust MG Tires with their solution for long-lasting and the best performance, with 3 different compounds available through the RL line. For more info about MG Tires USA and its extensive list of dealers near you, check out their website at mgtiresusa.com. MG Tires, for the drivers. Feel like you're racing alongside the many legends that have called CRG home. With direct factory support, the CRG Nordam operation is the North American distributor for all CRG products related to karting and is based just outside Houston, Texas. The complete racing chassis line, including the famous Road Rebel shifter kart, is available through CRG Nordam. The growing FS4 Briggs & Stratton Focus chassis is expanding worldwide, including right here in North America. Many tracks, indoor and outdoor, have made the switch to the Centurion rental kart line through CRG. New for the 2020 season is the Mini Hero for cadet racing, homologated for FIA competitions around the world. Head over to kartcrg.com or find them on all social media networks. Welcome back to the EKN Radio Network. My name is Rob Howden, joined today by Curtis Cooksey from Acceleration Kart Racing, one of the leading shops in the country, shipping goods all over. We'll talk more about what they actually do later on in the show here. Curtis, we talked about your racing, how you got into it. We all do this, right? We all get into the sport. We love it. We get into the industry. I did the same thing, and as a journalist, and I was racing like 15 times a year. Then I started the magazine, started racing 5 times a year. Then it was once a year because it got crazy. Where in your timeline and how did you go from working at Motorcycle Tire Center to starting Acceleration Kart Racing? And how did that program kind of launch?
Boy, I can't remember exactly how it all went down. But Dan Statlander owned MTC. He wanted to sell the motorcycle shop. Okay. And I didn't want to work for the guy that was buying it. So that's basically how I got started. Hollis Brown and Brian Herta had taken over Race Kart City. They were calling it Las Vegas Karting Center, I believe. Yep. And he needed some help. So I went out to help Hollis, and I was trying to start the retail operation out of the closet of our double wide trailer there.
That's it. That's it.
And I would help haul us out around the track, and he let me sell stuff, and I would pay him a percentage of the gross profit, and that's how I got started.
Wow. And was it Acceleration Kart Racing from the very beginning?
That was the name from the get go. That's what I called it.
So when was that? What year were we looking at? Early 2000s? Was it late 90s? Like,
It
when
was
was it?
late 1999.
Wow. So you guys have already gone past 20 years. That's pretty awesome. How did we let that go by? That's incredible. So you start this shop, and this happens all the time. How does your wife Brooke Parker end up being in the part of this program? How'd you drag her in?
Well, she was working at this company that sold pagers, and some of you kids probably even know what the hell a pager is.
That's it, right?
But obviously, they went out of business, and she came to work one day at her pager company, and the doors were locked. And she was upset, and I said, "Look, I'm getting busier and busier. Just come help me." And she came out to Las Vegas Karting Center and helped me for a few months, and then we moved into town and really got it going.
That's awesome. So talk about that move. Okay, let's do this first, because we'll roll into kind of what you guys do. What were you selling back then? I always find that very interesting. You know, what chassis brands and stuff they were selling. Who were you selling? Who were you a dealer for in those early days?
Well, when I started, I was a dealer for Burrell. But when I split off from MTC, they didn't want to sell to me. So, I can't. Oh, I talked to Ramos at CRG, and we went with Ramos. CRG, and we've sold CRG ever since.
For 20 years. That's awesome. So let's talk now about acceleration. Let's get a quick chance before we jump into some other stuff about the sport. You guys sell a ton of crap right now. Like, you guys have a lineup of top quality products.
If you want to buy it, we want to sell it.
If you want to, that's exactly it, right? If you want it. So what are the chassis lines that you guys have now?
Well, right now we're doing mostly the Tony Kart stuff, Burrell, and CRG.
Okay.
I think we do a little bit Gold Kart stuff and Rigetti Rodolfi, but that's just to help my buddy out, Adam.
What about engine side? Like, that's the thing. You guys pretty much, if somebody's racing it, you guys have it at the warehouse, right?
Yes. X30, Rock. We used to do a lot of Honda stuff. Now it's Rock shifters mostly, and the SSE IAME stuff.
You know, it's interesting because if you talk to somebody like yourself, Curtis, who knows what's going out the door every day, I think it's kind of an interesting question to kind of get a pulse of the sport, right? Because you know what you're selling, you know how much stuff you're moving. What's the stuff that's moving right now for you? Are you doing the Briggs 206 program as well?
Oh yeah, the LO 206 stuff is really the only part of the industry for us that's growing. And it's growing pretty fast, I think.
All right. What about some of the other product lines? Give me, if you want to throw some out there, give you a chance to talk about some of the product lines that you guys are supporting, the ones you like a lot more than not more than others, but some that you really, really are happy with.
We love them all, Rob. The Alpine Stars, Sparco. We just picked up Stilo helmets this year. We sell a ton of Arai helmets. That's still probably our top seller when it comes to helmets.
Okay.
The tires, people love the Avinco MG tires. Geez.
How big's your shop now? Anyways, let's talk about the shop itself. You're located in Las Vegas. How big is it?
You know, I'm not sure exactly how big it is, but I think it's about 6,000 square feet. And we have a dyno out back and some stuff. We keep a couple offices. And you haven't been here, have you?
You know what? Every time we go to Vegas, like we land in Vegas, we're right there for the Supernats. It's weird because it seems like there hasn't, obviously nothing out at the track anymore. So, the track out in Sloan is gone. What do you call it? Las Vegas Karting Center. We don't do. Yeah. I haven't been to a race out at Buffalo Bills in a number of years. So every time we're there, it's Supernats. And the minute you land, we're full throttle. Heck, you guys wouldn't be there anyways because you guys are always front and center at the Supernats with your tent, your trailer, and everything there as well. So I've never actually been to your shop. No, that's crazy.
One of these days, when it's not Supernats, you just need to take a detour and stop in Vegas.
I agree. Wait, what do you? Let's just bring this up right now. We're doing this on March the 19th. It's Thursday, right in the middle of this whole COVID-19 pandemic deal. What do you think about them shutting the lights down, shutting everything down on the Strip? That's pretty crazy in Las Vegas.
Yeah. Everybody I talked to just says they've never seen anything like this. We don't really know what to think. In fact, the governor came on, announced it Tuesday night. We weren't even sure if we'd be able to come to work the next day. But we are here. We're open. We're still shipping stuff. We just shut the front door.
And that's really works for you guys, right? I know obviously you guys do a ton of shipping. There's not a lot of karting in Las Vegas, so not that much walk-in. You guys primarily ship all over the country.
We do. You'd be surprised how much walk-in we do though, because It seems like everybody comes to Vegas for conventions or whatever.
All right, folks. Another quick little break here. When we come back, we'll keep talking to Curtis Cooksey. I want to ask him a little bit about his race. We talked about his early racing, but we really haven't hit some of the later stuff because he's had a pretty damn awesome career over the last 30 years. Stay with us, folks. More to come here on the EKN Radio Network. Made in the USA. That's exactly what you get from Precision Karting Technologies. Based in Detroit, Michigan, PKT brings over 35 years of manufacturing experience to the sport of karting. Their passion for the sport began focusing around the Kid Kart platform and has expanded every year with hundreds of products designed to put you on the podium. Precision Karting Technologies is known around North America for their successful line of axles, available in all age groups. PKT manufactures a number of engine products for Comer, Miami, Rock, Rotax, and the popular Briggs & Stratton 206. A wide variety of chassis components for the many brands in the sport are available through PKT, including hubs, pedal risers, skid plates, and other hardware for your kart. Axle straightening, chassis adjustments, engine service, and specific CNC machining projects are available through their Motor City headquarters. To learn more about the many products and services available from Precision Karting Technologies, head to pktaxles.com. The Briggs & Stratton 206 engine is where out-of-the-box ease and outstanding consistency meet to create legendary races. Briggs & Stratton's history in motorsports dates back to when the first engines came off the assembly line in the early 1900s. Their focus on the grassroots level continues to help build generations of racers. Since 2008, the Briggs & Stratton 206 has gained a following that has the engine powering the largest fields in North American karting today. From the club level and track programs to traveling regional series and national events, Briggs & Stratton competition provides the most exciting racing in the sport. Engineered and hand-built exclusively for racing, every Briggs 206 engine is power tested and serialized before it goes in the box. Karters can take that engine straight from the box to their kart and be on the podium at the end of the race day. To learn more about the 206 engine and to find a North American dealer near you, head to briggsracing.com. Briggs & Stratton Racing. What powers you? Welcome back to the EKN Radio Network, episode 32 of the Industry Insider, and get a chance to talk to a longtime karting veteran, Curtis Cooksey from Acceleration Kart Racing. We talked a little bit about Acceleration themselves, the shop, all the product lines they have. I actually posted something early in the year thanking Curtis and Brooke. Acceleration Kart Racing have been on eKarting News as an advertiser and a partner since I bought it in 2004, and it's a pleasure to have them with us all the time. Big sponsors and supporters of our EKN Live program at the Super Nationals as well. Let's start talking a little bit, Curtis, about your racing career. You started Acceleration Kart Racing; it grows exponentially, but you were, in addition to running shifter kart stuff with the Honda CR125, you actually were a proponent as well of the Rotax program. You actually were part of Team USA in 2006, 2007, 2008. You wore the red, white, and blue in Portugal and the United Arab Emirates and in Italy. Tell me how much that meant to you to be able to pull that suit on and run the Rotax Grand Finals.
At the time, I just thought it was the coolest thing ever. Not only were you representing your country, you show up, everybody's got the same type of equipment, you just set it up and go racing. Yeah. And that was a lot of fun.
Is there one of the three that stands out more for you? Maybe you had more success. Maybe it was just the experience because the United Arab Emirates obviously had a much different experience than going to Portugal. I remember that Portugal weekend. I think David Cole and I were there for that particular event. It rained a little bit there too, but then Italy is obviously a fantastic place to go to race as well. Is there one that stands out?
No, I mean all of them in their own ways. That Portugal was miserable.
It was,
Um,
wasn't it?
I loved it because I learned how to race in the rain there. And I
Yeah,
mean, when I started, I think I qualified mid-pack. When the main started, I was up to second before I got booted. And
that's
yeah,
it.
that was fun. And that didn't split up into masters and senior. I just did DD2. And
Yep.
I think that one probably stands out because I feel like I could have done very well. But yeah.
It is what it is, right? In those events.
Yeah.
Hey, listen. Let's talk. We talked a bit about being in Las Vegas, the karting in Las Vegas. What is the status of karting in Las Vegas now? There was a temporary circuit at one point for the Las Vegas Karting Club. That's been shut down. Correct? Is there anything? Are there any plans for another permanent facility coming potentially in Las Vegas?
It was actually a permanent facility at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. It's still there. I think they're using it for Tesla cars or something. I don't even know what they're doing, but they kicked out the Kart Club. I guess we were too much trouble for them. And there's a guy just outside of town that owns Spring Mountain Motorsports in Pahrump. It's a
Yep.
huge car track. He told me he's going to build a kart track years ago. I talked to him again around November, said he was going to start building it this year. Who knows now with the COVID-19, but yeah, hopefully he does something. I think that's our best bet right now.
Yeah. How far is Pahrump away from Las Vegas? Is it a half hour kind of thing?
It's probably a little more than a half hour, probably 40 minutes, but
Okay.
it's not too bad.
No, I think we all travel more than 40 minutes to go racing. That's for
Yeah.
sure. I know when I first started, I traveled 45 minutes, 45 minutes from Mississauga, Ontario to Kitchener-Waterloo to race at my club. Get up at 5:30 in the morning to make sure I had my right pit spot when I got there. That was all about passion back then for sure.
Yeah.
Curtis, what's your take on? Give me your take on the current regional and national racing. Again, you kind of have your finger on the pulse because of understanding what you're selling, what goes out the door. What are you thinking about the national level world right now? SCUSA Pro Tour, of course, Rock stepping up with their Florida Winter Tour, with the Challenge in Americas getting their best numbers, their record numbers at Cal Speed. They've got the Rock Fest East and the Rock Fest West. Rotax is actually coming back a little bit with the guys from J3 Competition. What's your take on that right now?
Boy, you know a lot better than I do, Rob. You know, I just hope that there's room for everyone, especially after this COVID-19 thing.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I've had a lot of conversations. One of the things about the national level, obviously, is that we really don't have anything in place as an industry to really draw more people into the sport. It's something we probably need to work on. It's tough when people are butting their heads like we are. Maybe what's happening here brings everybody back together to a certain extent when we try to reschedule races in the second half of the year. We'll see how things shake down. Uh, Overall, let me ask another personal question because I like throwing these kind of questions out. Is there one event or a one track that you'd like to race at, maybe that you haven't done yet?
Oh man, that's a tough question.
That's a tough question, isn't it?
You know, it doesn't even really matter. I think where it is, as long as it's a decent, safe track and good competition.
You're
You
just
know,
all in. You're all in to race anytime, right?
I am. I mean, Laguna Seca was fun. I did that a few years with the NCK.
Yeah,
I think that's one track that was kind of on my bucket list. But gosh, nothing's really coming to mind right now, Rob.
that's awesome. Well, we're going to give you the EKN Fast Five in a little bit. That's going to kind of be 5 questions that we use to just get you to kind of go back into your career a little bit to talk about. You'll see it when we come up here pretty soon.
Sure.
So again, in industry wise, because again, what I asked you a little bit about the national racing scene and regional racing scene. What about the industry? Do you over the last 5 to 10 years, how do you feel the industry is right now as someone that's right in the middle of it?
Well, I kind of feel like we're in a transitional period.
Yep.
You know, it's really hard to say. I hope that it continues to grow, although things have. I wish it was less expensive. That's why I think the LO206 is growing as fast as it is.
Agreed.
People do karting Mostly, I think, because they can't afford a Formula One car. So cost is always an issue.
Yeah, we're seeing that everywhere, aren't we? That the fact that you can go 206 racing, have a cart for 2, 3, 4, 5 years if you want. You're not burning through tires every weekend. You can, at some clubs, depending on what tire you're on the same tire for the entire season. Cost containment, I think, is definitely something that everybody in the industry probably needs to look at for sure.
Yeah, not only that, the LO206 is pretty easy to drive. Whether
Oh
you're
yeah.
really skilled or not, you can go out and have fun. If you can't drive well, a shifter cart can be very frustrating.
That is true. Jeff Deskins posted up a picture of my first ever shifter cart race, which was in Naples, Florida, a little bull ring down there in South Florida. And I remember jumping in that thing for the first time. I think I may have tested one before. I don't think I'd ever driven one at that point, raced one. And it was so much, right? And I was 20, I might have been 30 at that point when maybe 30 or 31 when I first got into one. But man, what a ride. It's a hard ride. You're right. It's something that could turn some certain people away. The 206 is obviously something that anybody, you can come out of a rental kart track, right, Curtis? Jump out
Yeah.
an indoor kart track, jump into a 206 and have the absolute time of your life.
Well, and I think people underestimate how much fun it is, even if you can drive a shifter cart. The
Yep.
LO206 or low horsepower stuff is still a ton of fun, and you develop skills. You learn racecraft. Too many guys try to jump straight into something that's over their head, get frustrated, and quit.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And the funny thing is, uh, because there's such big fields wherever you go, right? The battle at the Brickyard at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, I think there was like 65 or 70 guys in the senior class. There was over 45, I believe, in the Masters class that we were in. Same goes with the Margay Ignite category. You go to a lot of these big races. I don't care how fast you are, if you're in the lead group or if you're a second and a half off the pace, you've still got somebody to race with as well.
Oh yeah,
That's the key, right?
that's what it's about. That's awesome. I mean, Tom put on a race at Streets of Willow a couple of years ago. He combined all of the stock Hondas. I think he had close to 80 stock Hondas at Streets of Willow. It was crazy. It was awesome.
That would be awesome. Now we talked about the 206. Do you guys deal at all in the KA 100 and the VLR 100, the new 100cc program? Because we're seeing a lot of growth there all over the country. Actually, maybe drivers that want a little more speed from the 206, they're jumping up into the KA, the 100cc air cooled classes.
Yeah, we're doing more and more of that stuff. I think it was a much needed stepping stone from something like a LO206 to like the X30 Rotax rock stuff. I mean, there's a big jump. So I think the
And
KA stuff's great.
it's just a lot sexier than the KT 100, because really the KT 100 very similar in terms of what it provides. I had a chance to drive the VLR 100 on a Burrell with Andy Saisman up at Sonoma last year, about a little over a year ago, and it was a lot of fun, man. Enough bottom end grip out of the corners that it was a fun weekend. You know what I mean? It's coming out of 206. I think we're gonna see growth there as well, I think.
Absolutely, we've seen some really good racing with that stuff, and yeah, like I said, it's great in the middle.
All right, let's cap off this podcast. We've got 5 questions to ask you, Curtis. We're going to kind of do a deep dive into your career. This will be fun. Are you ready for the EKN Fast 5?
I don't think so.
I am not ready. All right, here we go. Question 1. What was your first kart? Give me some detail.
It was a Bug 2000 with a KT 100.
Nice. Did you buy it used? Or did you buy it brand new?
Used.
Used? Of course, right? We all did that. We all saved up our money to get a used cart when we first started. I love it.
Yep.
All right. So a Bug 2000. That's awesome.
It was
Do you have pictures of it? Do you have pictures of it?
Gosh, my parents might have pictures of it. I sure don't. I got pictures of it in my head.
Get them to dig a picture out. Get that thing posted. I want to see that. I want to see your first kart. All right. Number 2, question 2 of the EKN Fast 5. What is your favorite kart track ever?
Xplex, Las Vegas Karting Center, Race Kart City, one we're talking about.
Call it what you will. That's your favorite track ever?
You know, the more I drive different tracks, Rob, I appreciate how much of an awesome track that was. There were places to pass all over it.
There were. The thing about that racetrack too. It was physically demanding as well. You know what I mean? It's that the double apex right hander coming back by the tower to get back onto the straightaway. You're just ripping so much G's on there, down onto the brakes, into the kind of a banked right hander. There's a number of hairpins, and then the whole inner loop section would
Oh yeah.
absolutely wear your neck out. It's
If
crazy.
if your neck wasn't in good shape, it was flopping around after a few laps.
That's very true. And the crazy thing about some of those super nationals, and people complain a little bit now about our long days. You remember the Saturday at the Super Nats? We were racing till like 11 at night because there were so many. Because we had the flight system for the S2 class, the semi-pro guys, and we had 5 different groups. We'd race until like 11 at night, and it was pitch black. We had lights, but not near enough.
Oh yeah, from morning to dark, all day long.
All day long. All right, question number 3. What's the biggest win in your karting career?
I think the biggest one was at Buffalo Bills. It was a money race put on by Hollis. It was shortly after I moved to Vegas, and I was broke as a joke. I needed the money, and I think I won $1,000 or something at the time. It was just much needed.
That is awesome. An actual money race where you put the cash in your pocket. I dig it. All right, here's one for you. And you've raced for 30 years, so you kind of feel where you want to settle this in. Question number 4. Who was your biggest rival?
Boy,
is there somebody that you battle with on a regular basis?
Darren Elliott. I mean, I had some great races with him, and Art would help both of us out with motors. Yeah. So I think that made the rivalry a little bit more,
I know that Darren doesn't do any karting anymore. He's doing his off-road bike stuff, but I think he'd probably be a pretty good guy to sit down for a Book It podcast, don't you think?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Talk about how he got into the sport late, winning a go-kart, and amazing story, Darren Elliott. A lot of people don't know about Darren, right? This is a guy that was from the middle 90s to right into the past 2010 into the early decade. There was just one of the badasses in our sport for sure.
He was always one of the top guys. Yeah, forever.
Yeah, always. Yeah, you're right. All right, final question of the EKN Fast 5. Who has been your biggest mentor or influence?
Oh man, that's tough. I've had so many.
You know what? If there's not just one, you can mention a couple. It's fine with me.
Gosh, Rob, you kind of stumped me on that one.
I like to get you a little bit of introspection, right? To kind of figure out what's going on. Who was there for you? Who are some of the guys that help mold what you do?
I'd say Hollis Brown.
Yeah,
I think Hollis really. We both helped each other at a time that we really needed a lot of help. Him and Brian Hurta had just bought Las Vegas Karting Center. And for any of the connections that I didn't have, he had them. So he helped me out a ton.
That's awesome. Well, listen, there you go. You've made it through the EKN Fast 5. Congratulations. Well done.
Awesome. Thanks, Rob.
All right, let's wrap up this podcast. Let's give you an opportunity for people to follow you. First off, let's talk about the website first. Obviously, the hub of what you guys do is the website. People get on there, they order. You guys ship, same day, 24 hours? You guys probably ship?
If you order it before 2:30 Pacific, we ship it.
Wow. All right, what's the website?
It is shopakr.com or accelerationkarting.com. But
okay, what about,
I think Shop AKR is a little easier to remember. shopakr.com.
What about your social media channels? Do you know them?
You know what? I honestly, I don't do the social media, so I'm not even sure. Caitlin does all that, but if we do some Facebook stuff, some Twitter stuff, I don't know, whatever else the kids are doing.
Yeah, I think whatever else the kids are doing. I think you're on Instagram as well. Search for them, folks, on all 3 platforms. You'll be able to find Acceleration Kart Racing. Curtis, I appreciate you taking the time, bud, to talk to me. I wanted to get you on here for a quick chat. You know what? You've been a part of this industry for 20 years. You've been a big supporter of eKarting News, which I thank you for. But you've got 30 years of racing experience. When you look back, does it feel like it's a big body of work or what?
Man, I feel old when I think of 30 years.
Right? I know.
No, it doesn't. It seems like it's just so quick.
When are we going to see on the racetrack again? Have you hung up the helmet, or are you racing a little bit here and there?
Oh, I just sold my last Honda shifter car. I think I'll build something here to race here pretty soon. I don't know. As soon as you build us a track here in Las Vegas, I'll be on it.
I like to hear that. And man, yeah, a track up at Spring Mountain would be tremendous. I'd love to hear that. We need another track in Las Vegas for sure.
Yep.
Curtis, thank you so much for joining me, my friend. We've wrapped this thing up, the Industry Insider, episode number 32. Curtis, thank you so much.
Thanks, Rob. Have a good one.
Again, folks, one of the fantastic programs in this sport, Acceleration Kart Racing. Great shop. Curtis and Brooke do a fantastic job with it. If you do looking for parts and you haven't ordered from them, give it a shot sometime. www.shopakr.com. Thank you so much for joining us here, folks, on another edition of the Industry Insider. Thank you for downloading the app, the EKN Radio Network app. All of our content, of course, on the 24/7, 365 EKN Radio Network, the only karting radio station in the sport. From there, we turn it into podcast form, iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Podbean as well. All our content, we're going to be cranking a lot out during this COVID-19 pandemic where we're all kind of locked at home. I know you're all getting stir crazy, but we got lots of great interviews coming for you here on the EKN Radio Network. On behalf of Curtis Cooksey, my name is Rob Howden. Bye for now.